What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're going to be talking with Aaron and a bunch of different other people about the new trailer that just came out, and we're going to be answering a lot of different questions and asking Aaron a bunch of different questions. So without further ado, let's roll the video. Yeah, it's that easy.
Crash and hopefully die. That would be
Because the game's an auto battle, like similar to TFT, I guess.
Yeah, it's Illuvium.
Yeah, and then towards like 2 minutes something, the main character pulled out like 3 of the Axon cards, right? Is it similar to TFT where you have to have 3 of the same units for it to upgrade, or?
Yeah, but in Teamfight Tactics, you have to buy them onto the board, and they automatically sort of evolve or upgrade together. In our game, you catch them in the world, and then you have to take them to the 0-point forge. So if you saw that video clip, that's from the 0-point forge, where the characters sort of fuse together into the new one.
So during the battle, are you saying that you'll already have a fused version if you already evolved it?
Yeah, you have to bring it in your deck.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So when you're playing a ranked battle, you'll have a deck of cards similar to games like Hearthstone that you'll have to play. And so the point of your deck is that you want to make sure that you've got a good range of cards that will allow you to have, differing strategies, but also give you like powerful synergies. So the difference between us and TFT is instead of just going for meta builds, you have to sort of walk on the tightrope between, do I want to have a build that's powerful because it's all the things that I want to play, or do I want to counter my opponent? Because if your opponent is smart, they'll start to play things that go against what you do. And so if you put out that, a big team, like you saw in that battle, there was a giant team of fire creatures that were quite high level. But at the very end, Len was able to bring out the Maelstrom character, and that was what was able to turn the tides of that battle for her.
Okay. So Aaron, second question. At like 2 minutes and 18 seconds, we see the fucking part of the cinematic where the armored rhino beetle and your character interact. And at 2:18, it shows them both like dissolving, which I'm guessing goes into your actual encounter battle. Is that how we're going to encounter Alluvials? Is that it's going to have like that fuse and then it changes over to an actual battle?
Oh, sorry. It just cut out a little bit there. Could you repeat the last part of that?
Yeah, like I guess the main question is like at 2:18, the character and the Alluvial interact with one another, and they see each other like dissolving to encounter, which I'm guessing is, and then you'll actually then be transferred into the battle area or arena to try to catch it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the Alluvial is the thing that creates that singularity, right? So
gotcha.
if you have a look a little bit earlier in the shots, when the rhino vehicle is charging, it gets hit by those tracks.
Right.
So do we need to tag the encounter? How are we gonna see? Because I saw that there was some in the air too. So we're gonna have to do some parkour to get some, or what?
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to. You have to tag them with your gun, and if you get too close to them, they'll escape without leaving behind a singularity.
Okay.
So your job is to hit them with the tracking dart from a reasonable distance, and so that's why you have all of the movement things at your disposal to try and make that a bit easier.
So we're gonna see the Alluvials.
So for the public beta, you won't see the actual physical Alluvials yet. You'll see their wakes, but there's a story element as to why.
Oh yeah, dude. There's
that's pretty
wake.
Cool because you said we wouldn't see them in the overworld, so that's cool that you guys are gonna put that in.
At 2 minutes. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
I was gonna say at 2 minutes 26 seconds, you can actually see when she's flying in the air, and you look at the ground below her. There's a almost like a little ghost or a phantom thing moving across the ground. I think that's a wake, right?
That is, yes. That's an Alluvial moving. That's an Alluvial moving in a different sort of a plane to yourself. But if you shoot the tracking, you got a quantum tracking dart, and if you do that, when it flees into the encounter space, you'll be able to follow in behind, which is what happens in the beetle. In the beetle scene, she tracks it, it tries to peace out, and she follows it.
Right.
So wait, isn't that a hidden alluvial there? Do I earn anything because it's fucking phantom?
No, that's not hidden one.
Okay.
It's worth a good shot there. Huh?
So,
how hard would the game be to run? It wouldn't be, or would it?
Hard,
like on high settings.
On the highest setting?
Optimized. Is it really optimized?
He's got 290, so it doesn't matter.
At the moment, it's not anywhere near as optimized as what it will be. So
Yep.
I think this one was shot. We were getting around about 70 FPS at 4K on a 3080. So it still has a ways to go before we get it up to where we want it to be. But we use a different way of texturing the elements. So we actually get a lot of free frames per second with sort of cinematic quality textures that you don't get in other games because of the way that we do it. But it just makes it like ridiculously hard to do level design because you've got to make sure that things are exactly right, because it takes about 8 billion buttload of hours to render it out for the final output. So we've got to be good with our level design, but I think we're doing a reasonable job of that. And by the time January runs around, some of you guys will get into private beta 2, which is where you'll get to be able to test out the overworld and the movement mechanics and
How do we get into the beta? Like,
I think
what's required?
You have to send him your credit card number.
Yeah, send him your seed phrase.
I think
Aaron,
the overworld looks hectic. I wasn't expecting it to look that good, Like it
yeah, it
actually
does.
I thought it was I thought it was gonna look gimmicky as shit, but
Crucial,
it
what the
actually
fuck do you
looks
want from Aaron? Then?
fucking mad.
I had a quick question though on that singularity part where you see the 3 alluvials evolving, right?
Which part of the trailer, just so that I know?
2 minutes 42 seconds or 2 minutes 41.
That's not a singularity, by the way. That's inside of there's a thing that we have called the 0 point forge, and it's where all of your weapons and armaments, everything gets created, and it also is what is used to fuse the alluvial stuff. So I mean, it's you can call it whatever you want, but it's not technically a singularity. Singularity is the portal that they leave behind when they get spooked.
Right. And then I guess my question though is like, if you have a hollow or dark hollow version, will it be shown in that? Like you'll see a dark hollow one and then 2 regulars if that's what you're choosing to fuse with?
Yep, and I mean, I would always be a little bit cautious of doing that because if
yeah,
there's a chance that it's not hollow unless you have all 3 hollows. There's a chance it's not hollow when you fuse it.
Right.
So, but yes, it will be like that. If you have a look at the particle effects there, they're procedurally done from the units. It's not just like a blue particle effect. It's actually sampling the texture surface of the alluvial and then pulling it apart into tiny little pieces. So if you fuse something that's red, that'll be all red, and it won't be red because we've got red VFX. It'll be literally just pulling the thing to pieces.
And how rare is a hollow, dark hollow? What's the encounter rate?
We haven't decided on the exact encounter rates, but a Charizard in Pokemon tends to be around about 1 in every 10,000 cards. So you can imagine probably the hardest thing to find in the game will be somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay. Getting a little leaked info. We like it.
We can tweak it up. I mean, we can give everybody hollows every single time, but
no.
Everybody has a hollow. No one has a hollow. You know.
Can you catch alluvials at the 2nd and 3rd stage?
Can you get a really expensive card for free? Like if you don't pay for the game
that question was good. Can you encounter stage 2 and 3 alluvials in the wild?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah.
So would hollow percentages be based on their stage? Since like
No,
a stage
no,
3
no.
hollow is 9 tier 1s.
Hollow is rarity based, right? So it's like anything that you find has a percentage chance to be hollow, right? So most people are going to get hollow stage 3s by catching them in the wild, just purely because of the numbers. But you can, if you catch a whole bunch of stage 1s and fuse them together, some people might like to, take their chances. They have 1 hollow, 2 normals, they fuse it together, bingo bango, they've got a hollow. So it's up to people to work out what their risk profile is.
So it's easier to
sell
get
some keyboards, so you have to break them.
It's nice that you can encounter a higher stage ones because it gives you better chance to get perfect stats.
Yeah, but remember to encounter something that's of a higher stage, it's a bit rarer unless you're in the stage 3 version of the region.
Higher paying, yeah.
Yeah. So and record, that version was a stage 1 region.
Okay.
That was Brightland Step stage 1.
Good.
You know, you go.
Well, I gotta go.
Get really rare drop if you don't even pay for the game.
And I don't last birthday. Yucky. It all looks good to me, so I don't think that's wrong, but that's.
Sorry, I can't hear the questions.
Whatever.
Could you still get really rare drops if you don't put any money into the game?
No. You can't get really rare drops. You only get.
Kabalo ba ka? Kasi nakaidihan eh. Asawa ni Philippines.
1 second. We might just find
Who the fuck's Auntie's disrupting everyone?
1 second. Who is it?
Kotetsu.
In any case, if you don't put money in, so the way that the tier zeros work is there's tier 0 version of the region, which is doesn't cost you anything to go into it, and the things that you capture there are caught using tier 0 shards, which don't cost you anything to mine. So you get those shards, and then you capture the alluvials that are in there, and then you can upgrade them by fusing them and do all the rest of it. And there's 75 distinct types of tier 0. That is, there's 5 separate sort of characters that have 5 affinities, so that's 25, and then they have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So that's what you can catch. That's why there's 75 of them that are available, and they're meant to be like to sort of get you started, pad out your team. When you only have a few, you can sort of put them in with the tier 0s and start to work out some compositions, and that way, as you build yourself up through the world, you can get more and more, but you can't specifically spend no money and find something that is really, really rare. And the reason for that is because if we were to do that, then people could bot really easily, and you just get a massive glut. Someone would just make 50 million accounts, have bots running it, and just extract a whole bunch of alluvials out there. So I get that having a totally free to play game would be amazing. For a blockchain type game where we want to keep value in the things that you're getting, we really need to do 2 things there. Number 1, we need to make sure that they're collectible, something that you guys actually like collecting, which I think we've done a good job there. And number 2, they do need to be rare, right? Yeah. Now, how rare do they need to be? It depends. I mean, people pay $50 for a reasonably rare Pokemon card, and there's probably 1 million of them out there. But if there's a bunch of bots getting an infinite amount of them, they're no longer rare. There's got to be some fixed amount of them.
Let's say if you don't pay for the game and you're like insanely good at it, could you get rewarded in it?
So when you probably, like, if you were to ask me in say 3 years time, I'd say probably no, unless we change the model, because at the start of the game, it's still going to take you like a bunch of hours to get the tier 0s, which don't cost you anything, right? Now, if someone else goes into the game, makes a new account, their ranger level is going to be quite low, so they can't play Ramfire to begin with. They just don't have enough control to be able to play something as powerful as Ramfire. So if you get a big whale in the game, he's probably going to want to buy a bunch of tier 0s just to get him started. And so if you were the person who caught all of them, then you could put them onto the market, and for the first few weeks you could probably sell them, get some money, and then after that you could use that money to then stake and get SILV, and then you could go and capture something and get something more, and then you could sell that. And there is a path that someone could go from spending 0 money to being the rank 1 player in the world and take home, like $20 million out of a $40 million prize, right?
Yeah.
It's possible. It's just, I'm just going to say it's going to be incredibly unlikely.
So, Aaron, I got a quick question. There's a few weapons, obviously, in the trailer. There's the pistol, there's some sort of rifle and whatnot, right?
The rifle is the quantum tracker, and it's not a weapon. There's only 2 weapons shown in that. The pistol, which is your default, and then there is the well, I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but it's a sword that it gives the character a water essence.
Okay, and then but with that quantum rifle, right? Is there other weapons that kind of behave differently to catch Alluvials besides that, or is it just the rifle that you're going to be tracking darts and hitting Alluvials with?
Just the quantum rifle to begin with, because it does have one extra function, or at least that I believe, if Ben is still in the chat, that it's still planned that it has one extra function, but we don't want to have like a million weapons for the overworld, because it's fairly simple, right? You're mining, you're harvesting, you're capturing alluvials. There's not much more that you would need the gun for until maybe in a year or 2 when we do an expansion that makes the game like Monster Hunter or something like that.
Right, and that mining, is your character actually going to mine it, or like in the video where you have the drone kind of collecting from the plant, is your drone going to be mining?
Yeah, your companion drone does a lot. The companion drone is a very important part of your journey. Let's just put it that way.
And do you have to make him, or do you get him off the bat?
You get one off the bat. Whether or not you get a Mozart, I can't say, but it's polymorphic, meaning that it can configure itself.
That's new info. What?
Different shape. That's not actually new info. That's something that's been around since about maybe February.
Oh.
So polymorphic subordinate drone.
Where you been, Ethan?
It got renamed to polymorphic companion drone.
Aaron, can I just say that that 10-second flying clip was phenomenal. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was hectic.
Wait, I have another question. You said
The
something about the
animation, I think, was done by Alexandre, and he's one of the best in the world. Just absolute godlike when it comes to animation. I will say though that I was the one who designed the jump mechanics. And if you guys hate them, then it's me that you should hate.
With the little force field that goes underneath your feet, so you can go from place to place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I reckon
That's crisp.
Is it like an easy to learn, hard to master kind of mechanic, or?
I would say that it's easy to learn and medium to master. It's not. Put it this way: that one of the things that the guys were fighting me on is that the way that we have it at the moment, you can't see because we stripped out the UI from the actual video, but you have a set amount of what we call kinetic, that is what you use when you're flying or jumping or sprinting or using your nether sight. All of these things cost energy, which we call kinetic. And when you run and jump, you actually press and charge it, and then you release to jump. And a lot of the gameplay guys were fighting me on the idea that in most games, when you press the space key, you jump instantly, whereas in ours you charge and you release. So we're still going to do some testing in the private beta 2 because some of the people still think that it should be that you just press the button and you jump. And I'm pretty keen on keeping it with this charging mechanic because it allows you to do some cool things off the ground. If you manage to get that jump just right, you get like an extra powerful boost. We plan on adding like backflips and side flips and stuff like that to the animations to give you that, you know, that visceral reward that you nailed that jump, because as you land, your momentum sort of stretches out that gravity well and then flings you back up. And if you get it perfect, you get like quite a big boost.
Quick question on that that clip that you're talking about right now, right? The jumping clip.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see the terrain around you, right? Let's say 2 minutes 28 seconds, you can see the big rock face to your right. Okay. Now, my question is like, are you guys going to have it where if you run into that rock, you actually like bounce off of it and stuff, or are we going to have like barriers where you can't go past a certain area? Is there invisible barriers or no?
When you say bounce off, do you mean like a rubber ball or something? Or
no, I meant like, so let's say it's sloped, right? That rock, right?
Yeah.
When you hit it, obviously your character, if it was fully like rendered and interactable, it would actually your character would slide across that surface.
Yep.
Or is it going to be invisible barriers where it's just going to?
Is it really chunky? So the fun fact about this level, one of the unoptimized things about it is at the moment, and keeping in mind that this still runs fine on a 3080. At the moment, sorry.
I got it. They're muted.
Yeah, the collision volume is the mesh. It's a low LOD version of the mesh. So basically, you react quite physically to hitting it. If it's on an angle, you'll bump on an angle and stuff like that. However, that's probably we probably need to reduce the number of polygons for these things for lower end machines. So there could be a little bit of there could be just a little bit of differences between a high end and a low end spec, but we're still optimizing it. Like I said, we're still like rapidly going through these things. So.
Right, and like, will there also be the possibility of like finding little platforms that are on these polygons that you can actually land on, or is it always going to slide off?
The one on the right hand side, you're going to slide off all of that just because there's literally nothing there. But at the moment, you can stand on anything that has a ledge that's big enough to support you. And she has proper inverse kinematics. So if she's standing on like a step, one foot will be on one step and the other foot will be on the other, with her knee bent like you would look like if you were actually standing there. So it's quite proper physical movement. I will tell you that there's some definitely some crazy glitches on Sancta Mesa at the moment for the flying mechanics, and her legs go through her head occasionally because we haven't fixed up the collision volumes there. But these are all very, very small things. Like I said, we're still before the beta, and that beta is not going to be till January, so we still have a little bit of time to fix it.
Gotcha.
Hi, Aaron.
So what's happening with the Cryo War collaboration?
I don't know. I've been working on this one pretty much exclusively now for the last 8 weeks. So as far as I do know that it's definitely an actual collaboration. It's not a scam, but I don't know the details of it, unfortunately. I apologize. I try to keep up to date with all of the stuff, including marketing, but that one I just don't know.
Hi, Aaron. I really love the trailer. It's really beautiful. Is the land sale going to happen next month? And also, the beta is confirmed for January?
So no, there's going to be. Ben has added a little bit of detail to the survival mode, but I think I'm still pretty confident that we'll get that out before the end of the year. That's private beta 1. So private beta 1 will be a battle mode where it's PvE, and it'll be similar to like a tower defense where you're battling wave after wave of alluvials. And that's one of the modes that we're going to be giving money away to people once the game goes live through ILV, in-game yields. Based on a leaderboard, so that's going to go first, and then after that, while we're finishing up the last of the alluvials that we need for beta 2, we'll be completing all of the functionality for the combat engine. And once the combat engine is fully complete, then private beta 2 will be at least one environment, probably Brightland Steps, this one that you see here, and you'll be able to jump around and capture alluvials and collect them, and then you'll use them to battle, and you'll also use them when you play the survival mode as well. And depending on if we get enough time, we will try inside of that beta to also get the PvP. But remember, we're locking PvP for about a month after the release of the game, because at the start, not many people will actually have enough alluvials to play a proper game. And we just want to make sure that we get that really, really clean and, to the point where we know that there's zero bugs in it, etc., etc. Like, I'm sure when you guys go back and look through the footage, you'll probably see something in there where there might be some sort of a bug in the auto battler. But like I said, all of those battles, even though we're taking different clips from them, they're all taken from straight up battles that just run, right? Like we just place the characters down and we just run it. None of that is scripted at all. If you go through the trailer, obviously the first bit up until when you get to her eyes, all of that is like cinematic stuff. And then it goes into all of the stuff that's actual battles. And they're real battles, right? That's using our cinematic render engine. So when you play the game, you play it, and then if you want, you can take the camera, move it around, duck it down, be Ansel Adams, whatever sort of a cinematographer you want to be. And when you do that, you can record out where your camera went, and then you can just press a button and you can record it so that your battles look exactly the way that they did in ours. And you can choose.
What about Illuvium Zero? Sorry, the land game.
Sorry,
Illuvium Zero.
Oh, Illuvium Zero. So that's the land sale. Hopefully, we can get that out by the end of next month. Okay. It's quite a big project from the web and blockchain team, and there was a few delays with staking V2. We got staking V2 done really, really fast, but there was some issues with the community, which is it happens. If people want things to be different, we need to take a look at them, and that's always going to add a little bit of time, because if we did it, we would just say this is what we're doing and we go with it. When the community is involved, we just want to make sure that everyone is happy with it. It gives us a chance to make sure that things are the way that everyone wants them to be. But it just added a little bit of time, and that's probably going to flow on a tiny bit into the blockchain work for the land sale, which is, it's so cool. Like, if we already have a working prototype of the map, and you can zoom in, you can see all the different plots of land. You can actually see the vacant zones where the obelisks are. So I don't know if anyone noticed, but on the start of the trailer, you see the ship crash through, and you can just see that it's actually crashing through an invisible force field. And that invisible force field is what keeps you apes inside of your region. So if you try to jump around too far and fly off out to the side, you'll get, let's just say, vaporized.
If you get vaporized, do you lose your shit or do you keep your shit?
You keep it. You just go back to your last fixed point, right? So when you travel via obelisk, your fixed point is the obelisk itself. So if you decide that you want to use your jetpack and fly up into the sun and, you know, obliterate yourself, you'll just get teleported back. And same thing if you were to decide that you want to like jump into a pool of acid or something like that, it'll just teleport you back. And you also have a couple of little teleport beacons that can sort of allow you to quickly move around the map. At the moment, like Brightland Steps is not huge. I think it's something like 3 by 3 kilometers. So it's not ridiculously massive, but over time, as we build these things out, we want to have a very, very big world. Once we're in Unreal 5, we'll be able to use all of the new streaming technologies. And then basically it'll just get bigger and bigger and better and better. But at that point, if you run for say 4 kilometers in a particular direction, trying to find some rare alluvial, and then all of a sudden you accidentally miss your gravity boots, jump and fall into a pool of lava or something, you probably don't want to go all the way back to the obelisk. So you'd probably put a teleport beacon out somewhere.
I have a final question, if you may allow me.
Sure.
It's related to the DAO. Is there a consideration of using the funds in the treasury to invest in like other projects? Obviously, going through a vote, but
at this stage, we haven't had any specific plans around that. But there's no reason why we couldn't.
Excellent.
I mean, like for example, we're always on the lookout for things that we can do, but we're like as you saw with this trailer. Like again, I apologize that was 45 minutes late, but we are always trying to get things absolutely as perfect as we can. And one of the ways that we can do that is to keep our focus fairly narrow. And you know, the level that we're trying to get to with this game, it's not something that comes easy. You know, it takes really talented people a lot of hours to do, and they're working their ass off to do it. If we were to then sort of look at putting money towards other projects, it would have to be like a really, really good idea. That's for sure, because otherwise it can be a little bit of a distraction. And then it's like, well, one of my main goals for making an Illuvium universe of games was I looked at Engine Coin and I just thought game developers don't always work nice together when it comes to actual gameplay. Like we can do collaborations where there's NFTs and stuff like that, but I mean, who's going to want to take their game and you've got like the sword of Damocles and it's the best sword that you've got in the game, and then you go and say to some other developer, hey, you're going to go put this into your game so that people can use it in 2 separate games, but by the way, it'll feel really weird if it's complete shit in your game, so you've got to now make that your best item in your game. The other people are going to say, get fucked, you know, like they've got their own best thing, you know, it might be, you know, the pistol of destiny or something. So it's very hard. Whereas for us, if you get weapons that you build over time in Illuvium, the first game, and then later on, maybe we make a Monster Hunter version, all of those things
they'll
be able to be used in the Monster Hunter version of it. So you'll be able to take something that you've been using in an auto battler, of which we've got quite a few weapons, and you'll be able to then go for your life in something else. Or maybe there's a dungeon crawler and now you can use them in that. Or and across all of the different games, you'll also be able to use the alluvials. That's the one thing that has to happen. Every game that we make has to have a use of alluvials. Technically not Illuvium 0 because it is a mini game, but there's a rumor that Illuvium 0 is not going to be a mini game forever, and then hey, you'll have to be able to use alluvials in that too.
Hey, Aaron, we see the cards that she kind of flicks off, you know, shows the 3 X, you know, blue cards, right, to evolve the alluvials. Is because I don't know if we've seen, maybe I'm mistaken, have we seen an actual shard? Is that like what a shard's going to look like in game? Is like a card?
Yeah, a shard is a let's call it an infused crystal that needs to be fashioned into something that has a flat surface so that it can trap the alluvial inside.
Pokeball.
And I'm not going to say any more than that, but effectively, you have to mine these from the ground, and they're fairly rare, right? And then once you get them, you just have to pay a small fee to take them from something rough into something that looks like that.
So it'll just look like an empty card then, like a see-through crystal card.
Yeah. It'll be completely see-through until you, well, not completely, but it'll look like a crystal playing card is the general idea. If you have a look at the original trailer that we did, that was the first look dev for the hollows inside of their encounters, like inside of their shard space.
Mm-hmm. I have another question.
It will be a Master Ball in Illuvium.
Sorry?
Master Ball chart.
Yeah. There's 5, well, technically 6 tiers of shards. There's tier 0 through to tier 5, just like the Alluvials. Almost everything in our game has stages and tiers. The shards don't have stages because they're not the sort of thing that you can sort of fuse together by themselves. They have to have an alluvial in them to be able to be used in the fusion process.
And will the shards have like slight differences in appearance as they go up in tier, or are they all the same?
They do have a slight difference in appearance. And
How?
the alluvials don't, but the alluvials get slight differences in terms of their combat stats. And also, because of my one and only good idea on this project, there's also a hash value, which we use to generate the randomness that every character will get across all of the different games. So when you get something now, in 5 years' time, if we make a new game, it'll probably have some sort of randomness to it, and that'll be based off of the hash value that you get when you mine it now. But in terms of how good it will be, there'll be a way to sort of tell roughly how good the stats are across the board, but you won't be able to know for sure. So when you get one, if you've got something that's got some favorable stats in this game, there's a higher chance that when you go into something like the dating simulator, that you'll have like extra suaveness or something like that.
Wait, is there actually a dating simulator? Or is it a joke?
No, there's no dating simulator.
I'm like, wait, why does he keep bringing this up?
I bring it up because when we first announced that we were making the game and we had a Discord, literally within like the first 3 seconds of people joining the Discord, someone asked me if there will be waifu alluvials, and it's just stuck with me ever since. That whenever someone brings up what the next game will be, I just always say dating sim.
Oh, we've got the waifu. We just need the dating sim now.
That's it.
So yeah, I've got one more question with the. Oh shit! Do you want to
go? So with the fighting, like, how do I go on a competitive match with a player on the same rank as me?
So you'll just go into a lobby, just like if you were just going to play chess or something like that. There'll just be a menu. It'll take you in there. We'll matchmake you against someone of your level, right? So you'll have a rating, and your rating will be lower than mine because I'm so much better than you. But
never played an auto chess game ever. I'm an FPS guy. Probably.
I'm only joking. It's 2:35 a.m. for me here, and I'm a bit delirious. But yeah, you'll go into a match against people that are of your ability. So even if all you have is a deck of tier 0s and you have no idea how to play the game, there'll be other people around about your level as well.
Aaron, so I know a lot of it's kind of like the auto battler portion, I guess, is a little bit inspired with TFT because they kind of showed off the, auto battlers, whatever, right? So my question though,
Underlords is probably a bit closer, but yes.
Okay. I know that there is certain, I guess, items you can collect within the game, like certain thorns or whatever it might be that you can then place upon an alluvial to give it better like characteristics for a certain stat, right? Is that going to be kind of like a card during the battle phase where you have a card which is an item and then you place that on your alluvials of choice?
Yeah, that's an enhancement, and yes.
Okay.
And I'm actually really happy with the one of the things with these games is oftentimes developers, in my opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, they come up with a whole bunch of stuff that's fairly random, and what it ends up doing is it ends up, even though you get this massive decision space, 95% of the decisions are just garbage, and so you never do them, right? So if you have a look at some other games, it's like, okay, well, I can put items onto my character, but I always put this one because this is just the best item for that guy, right? And it's obvious, you know? So what I suggest is that when a game developer's looking at it is keep the number of decisions lower, but make them all good decisions, right? Because once you get past like say 5 or 10 decisions, there's like a bunch of different rounds that you have to play. That's a really big decision space. If all of them are tough, then you'll be able to have a game where people can actually get good at it. If you look at chess, there's quite often there's between 3 and 5 moves that look reasonably good, and that's why chess is so hard to master, because even though you don't have a heap of decision space, all of the decisions to the amateur look the same. And in this game, we're trying to have it similar, right? So there's no specific, oh, well, I'm just going to put down a fire team because fire always wins. If you see that your opponent starts to put down something like a mud character or something like that, well, then you better pivot because that mud character is going to, absolutely deck you. So, but then again, you might say, well, he's only bluffing and he's only going to put one mud down to stop me from using my sweet, conflagration cards or whatever. And you just have to navigate through that space, and we don't give you that much time. So you have to think quick, you have to use your deck, and you have to make decisions really quickly. And again, I can never guarantee that it's going to be good gameplay, but I've played a lot of these types of games, and I think I've got a good handle on why some parts of them are good or bad. I played a decent amount of TFT. I got up to Master with about 280 points, but which is not like amazing. It's not pro level or anything like that, but this is while I had a full-time job, so I wasn't playing all that often. And I think one of the things that I noticed, as like with this current set, I just knew straight away this set is going to be bad. Like I was already building this game, and I was looking through what they had said, and I just looked at it and said, this will just be straight up bad. And if you look at the reviews for this set, almost everyone has said, yeah, it's not been great. And I think that's because they're spending a lot of time trying to make things weird and wacky and different, instead of trying to make something that can last, right? Chess lasts because there's always something else to learn. It's deep in a simplistic way. Our game, we're trying to have it like that, but just with giant sick monsters that slap each other with lava and shit.
Can we get like a Magikarp like Alluvial, kind of like a big fucking fish? Thoughts?
A silly fish that turns into something fucking sick.
Yeah, like a Gyarados.
Yeah, you already have it.
Yo, Aaron, you ever heard of the 888 Inner Circle?
Nope.
I don't know. You wanted to suggest maybe like doing some collab with these guys.
Okay, send us through a link. I don't usually do that. That's usually Jawad, but yeah, send it through.
Yeah.
But yeah, the weird fishy type one is Tiktaalik.
Tiktaalik.
Yeah, the Tiktaalik one.
The man that turns into like the fucking, what does he look like? Jabba the Hutt or whatever.
Yeah, Yeah. He's a good character. He's got a very, very powerful Omega ability.
Okay.
Aaron, you mentioned you use like to see the randomness. You use positions on the map, right? Like, can't you just write a script or something that puts your mouse in a certain way so you always get a critical hit?
No, you can't. Critical hits are done via a charging system, right? So they're fairly they're programmed, but the only way that you'd be able to predict the actual outcome of the battle is A, be very good at the game, or B, have access to our code base to be able to run the battle. If you don't have access to that, then it's not going to work.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The chick that you play, is that will you be able to play her like, or do you choose a character from the start?
You
just play her?
I hate to tell this to you, but you choose your character and you can't choose her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That so just to clarify what that video was about, right? That video is her coming up to, I'll just say it's an important battle, right? It has a story element to it. We don't want to go too much into that until we get into the actual game, but that's an important battle for her that she must win. And when she gets up to that battle, you can see her close her eyes, and then you see her journey for the weeks previous. And what she's been doing has been to collect not only the Alluvials, but also you might notice that she discards her pistol and takes up a really freaking powerful water sword, right? And so with the combination of capturing the Axodon, or at least fusing the Axodon from the Axons, and that sword, she counters that other Verlaine Ranger, and I'm trying to say things without giving away things that I shouldn't give away. And because water counters fire, that's why she's able to win that battle.
Hey,
right? So she's got a story element in the world, like she's what we would call the main character, but you don't get to play as the main character because there's nearly 200,000 of you apes. You can't all be Len, you know? So you get to pick your character and you get to do your stuff. They will have a helmet, so you won't be able to see their faces to begin with, but over time we'll increase the character customization. It's one of those things that we feel is a nice to have rather than a needs to have, because it can take like 3 months for a person to do a good character customization by themselves.
100%.
You know, we're trying to keep everything. We don't want to just put out garbage. You know what I mean? Like if you can see, like even the animations for Mozart as it's flying alongside her, you can see that there's an element of like flex in his little blasters and stuff like that. We try to do everything well rather than do a lot of things, but eventually we'll do a lot of things.
Hey, Aaron, in announcements, it was just talked about from Wendy. She posted some pictures of Alluvials. Have we? I don't recall seeing that fucking top right rock monster Alluvial before.
Or the monkey one.
Have you guys not seen that?
I don't think so.
I haven't.
Okay, so you know who the top left is, right?
Yeah. Squiz.
Yeah. Bottom left?
Alice, yep.
By the way, that is clearly the cutest drawing that anyone's ever done. There's no... How cute is that? When I first saw that, when I burst out laughing for about 5 minutes, I thought it was so cute. Look at that tongue. Do you guys know the bottom right?
No.
Where's the picture?
No?
No.
Okay, well that's from the 10 rec line.
10 rec? Okay.
Yeah, it's from the 10 rec line.
Is he holding fucking money?
Yeah, that's shut up and take my money. That's what the NFT is.
Okay.
So Atlas at the movies, Ring the Bell Squiz, Shut Up and Take My Money. I'm not going to name that character yet because I don't know if we have or not, and I'm getting very tired, so I'll leave it. But it is from the 10 rec line, and then the top one is that smash the like button, Grocko. He's a tier 0. He's the Guardian tier 0. Or sorry,
Fuck,
Bulwark.
dude. I don't think I've fuck, dude. I don't think we've seen his line before, unless I'm an idiot.
No, I think of the tier 0s, we've only shown the Flish and the Doka, right?
Yep.
Well,
Hey,
there you go.
Aaron.
Now you've got the Bulwark tier 0. And
Aaron,
that
are we-
one, that's the Earth version of it, I believe.
Earth version.
Yeah,
There's
tier
different
zeros
versions.
all have different versions, right? So you can get an Earth Doka, you can get a Fire Grokka, etc., etc.
Hey, Aaron, with
Ooh,
those
I didn't
tier
know.
zero, with the tier zeros, as like, do they like with their evolutions? Are they going to be very basic transformations, or is it going to be like is something like the Atlas to Axodon type transformation?
Super basic. They're they're the same topology, and they're basically just a tiny size growth.
Yeah, and you're just getting increased stats and probably an increased deployment cost, so that you can mix around with those sorts of aspects.
That's basically all it is. The idea with the tier zeros is we want the artwork to still be very good because we want to make sure that if people are getting free stuff, it's not just like garbage, right? So I actually think that some of them are my favorite characters. You haven't seen the Rogue one though yet, and that one I think is very cool. But
we haven't seen the support one either. I don't think.
Sad day for you guys. Then you'll have to
Getting a leak.
The support one is hideously cute. It's so cute, and it's got an amazing name. I really love the name of the tier zeros. But I won't be leaking them. You've had enough leaks today. But the point is that even though we want them to be good looking, making 75 totally unique ones would be, we'd be talking about a development cycle if we were to do it properly and we were a normal studio, like 5 years or something. So we're getting them done fast. All of the tier zeros are complete. All of them are modeled. All of them are textured. I believe they are at the stage at the moment of animation is where I think that most of those ones are, right? So they're being animated, which is pretty far into the process. We're getting really good at being able to pump them out quickly. But the point is that we want them to be something that you can understand the game from, right? You get a stage 1. If you get 3 of them, you can upgrade it into a stage 2. You put 2 of them together, you put one of them with something else and you combine, and now you've got a synergy, right? You play them against an opponent and your opponent has water, you have fire, well then they start to go hyper. And this is how the game operates, and you can get that functionality with just the tier zeros.
By the way, guys, there's the new trailer from Alpha already on the channel.
The next one's already out.
Is it?
Yeah,
the combat video.
Yeah, it came out. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So
that means you
The
can go to
It looks
bed, Aaron.
sick. It looks even better, to be honest. Like from the trailer.
Yeah.
It's probably because YouTube has had enough time to compress it properly.
So sick.
I don't know, but yeah, it's the exact same battle. It's just we're using a single camera just to show you everything. Because obviously, gameplay trailer, we want it to be dynamic. We want to have all of that. But you can see the whole battle. You're not seeing it from like artistic angles and stuff like that. You're just seeing the characters go at it. And
So
yeah, I just wanted to say it's like compared to like TFT, there's like it's it's same quality or even like better because it's not just humans. Like sick.
This battle though, your main character, whatever the first character, right, is facing off against just 3 Alluvials. It's not. This isn't like a multiplayer battle, right? Because the other person would also have like main character, right, to shoot people with.
Yeah, no. So remember in the trailer, the idea is she's going up against someone in a battle, and then she's thinking back to what she's done previously, and this is her journey through the overworld, where she's collecting all of her creatures. So she starts with Atlas, and she's fighting against the stage 1 Scorpion and the stage 1 Pistol Shrimp. And you'll see that when that battle is finished, when she goes into the next battle, she's got the stage 2 Scorpion and she's got the stage 2 Pistol Shrimp. So she's collecting them, and her Atlas has been evolved into an Axon, right? So it's a tougher battle, but she's got better things, right? And then the next battle is the one where she's getting the Beetle, which is a granite character, super strong and good against fire. And so she's fighting against all of that, and she's just collecting a bigger and bigger team. And then
So I guess, sorry, I guess my main question though with that, right, is let's say you encounter, let's say the Beetle, for instance, right? Is that Beetle then going to have like other Alluvials supporting it? Like
yes.
Okay. And you can only catch the Beetle, or you can catch all of them on the board?
You can catch all of them.
Okay, so when you encounter just one encounter, it actually can be like 4 Alluvials.
Yeah, so the way that it works is when you go to, like, it's a bit hard to see, and we still have work to do on it, but you can see the companion drone floating off to the side. Every time you defeat one of them, it's like temporarily disabled, so your drone can basically suck it in, and then it's held there for a second, and that's basically where you try to you use one of your shards to try and capture it. But it may break free if you use a crappy shard on a very powerful Alluvial. You have not much chance of capturing it, and there's only so much time that you have there before they break free and they escape out of the encounter. So
dude, some of these fucking abilities look amazing. Like the fucking Beetle guy shoots like a hollow ghost version of himself, and the fucking dog decides to turn into mist and hit everything. Like, this is incredible.
This is a solo game, right? It's not built to be like a multiplayer with friends and shit, right?
Not at this stage. So like I said before, at some point I would be very surprised if at some point we don't make a multiplayer combat thing similar to, like, it might not be like an MMO in the traditional sense where there's a million people running around, but it might be where you and 3 friends can go into an instanced battle where you all take your Alluvials in and fight against something, I don't know, maybe bigger than a whale. Who knows? So
like a Leviathan.
I can't tell you.
Can you like?
But at the moment, it's just one player.
Can you like move? Can you like move the Illuvium around before the battle starts? You know, in TFT and Dota, you can auto chess. You can like scout enemies, and then you move your pieces so you counter them. Do you have some time to?
Yes, so you get to see where the Alluvials are. I will say that the overworld gameplay, the difficulty there is that your opponents, depending on which sort of stage you go to of the region, the thing that makes it difficult is that usually they will have more what we call control points or turn points worth of Alluvials than what you'll be able to put out depending on your level, right? So your ranger has a particular level which allows them to place things on the board. Usually the enemy will have a little bit more than you, but the difference is that you'll be able to counter them in a fairly obvious way, because if they're all nature, then you'd probably want to go fire if you do have it. But sometimes you're not going to have any fire, and then you got to fight with something else, and then positioning comes into it. But you got to remember that PvE is never going to be like ridiculously hard, and we have not aimed to make our PvE super hard. You can think of this game as opening up a packet of cards, and they're all there ready for you to collect. But sometimes you just go to grab it and it slips through your fingers. And sometimes you decide, I don't want that one, I want this one. And that's basically what it comes down to. But I wouldn't expect to go in there and be like, oh my God, I got to use every bit of my gigabrain to be able to solve this battle. The PvE is going to be medium level difficulty.
And Aaron, with these encounters, right? Let's say you encounter like a Ramfire, for instance. Okay?
Yeah.
And you have all these other extra alluvials that's with it. If I'm like going for Ramfires and I keep encountering another Ramfire or whatever, right? Will the supporting characters be random, or will always be the same supporting characters?
They will be random with a algorithm that would bias it to be somewhat the same. You got to remember that a Ramfire probably wants to be surrounded by other like-minded characters, right? So Ramfire is a Slayer, so maybe another Slayer comes in. He's Inferno, maybe another Inferno comes in. Maybe a fire comes in, maybe a rogue or a fighter. There is a chance that it'll come in there with a bulwark or mud or whatever. It's just a little bit less likely. So whenever you encounter Ramfire, it's not going to be the same encounter every time. It'll be almost certainly different to whatever else you've seen, either in position or composition or whatever it happens to be. But don't expect it to be like it's. You're either going to be able to do it or you won't. Like, obviously, you could get someone who's got only tier 0 things. They pay, whatever the fee is to go into the stage 3 version of a region, and they go up against Ramfire and, Umber and, I don't know, maybe Blaze Knight or something like that, and you just get the absolute shit kicked out of you, right? And no amount of big brain plays is going to get you to win that battle, because you've gone in there with a Grokko and a single Doka. You're going to get pumped,
So when the game launches, how much of like the rarity and other things like that are we gonna know versus just trial by fire and losing a shard because you weren't aware of it? How much of that are we gonna
one
know?
of the reasons. So the answer is you won't know, but you don't lose shards. If you what you do is, if you fail to capture it and then the encounter breaks and you're out of it, then you keep your shard, but you missed out on that encounter, right? And that creature is not coming back. So inside of every trip that you go into one of the regions, there'll be a certain amount of things that you can collect, and it costs you a certain amount of energy to travel into these encounters. If you then fail to collect anything out of there, you might have had 100 energy to start. Now you've got, say, 90. It's like an opportunity cost, right? But you never lose your stuff. Your weapons don't break. You don't have shards that get dropped and then you start crying. We don't want it to be like traumatic. We just want you to be pissed off sometimes.
So the male character at the end was like shooting fireballs and stuff. We'll be able to learn something like that also, or we'll just use weapons.
The male raid, we might need to.
I can't find that person.
It's ice. It's ice.
I muted him. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so when you sorry, what was the question again?
So at the end, there is the male character that is shooting fireballs and stuff. Yeah.
So just like Len has the most powerful water sword in the game, the I'm not going to say his name, but the other person in the other ranger in that battle is using the fire gauntlet.
So you'll be able to actually
get.
So your character, you'll be actually. Do you have to lock it in the beginning of what type you want, or will you be able to change? Like, if you wanted to change up your setup to be the water sword versus the fire, can you do that mid game?
Yep. You have to be able to juke out your opponents. You place it. The time that you place that is a bit later on into the battle. So there's a bunch of things that you can do in terms of making your board be different than what might have been shown. So yeah, that's one of the things you can do. You could play with the pistol. I mean, I would never recommend playing with the pistol because it gives you no affinity and it's not particularly strong. The ultimate is basically just like an extra powerful shot every a few seconds. But if you saw the sword had quite a cool Omega with it, where she does like a front flip and just absolutely slaps them for lots of damage. So that's where you get your stats, right? Your armaments are what determine the stats of your ranger when it comes to combat. So the better your weapon, the better your suit, the more powerful you are in combat. And remember, these are all of the things. Sorry, I'm just muting people all over the place. That's what you end up needing to choose between, right? You could play Ramfire, or you could play the Fire Gauntlet, right? You only have a certain amount of points to spend.
Okay, so the PvP, there's gonna be a draft phase, right? When we're picking Illuvials. Can we pick the same Illuvial that the opponent has already picked or not?
As long as you have them, yes, of course.
Okay.
You can set up an exact mirror battle if you really want to.
And let's say if my opponent has put like a fire illusion on the front and then I put a water one, does he get on his next draft phase, he can move the illusions around? Or it's like moving is free every time?
At this stage, it's fixed the movement. But again, all of these things are, we're going to test a lot of different things, right? The first thing that we're building out is the survival modes, and that one isn't a PvP battle. So the first part is we want to make sure that all of the Alluvials have very satisfying attacks on Omegas, and that they are working properly, that they have no bugs, that the combat engine is effectively perfect. Once we get that right, then we'll let you play the PvP version, and we'll start tweaking the rules.
All right, I think
I got
that's kryptonite. Yeah. Aaron, I just want to say, I know probably everyone's already said it already, but this looks phenomenal, dude. You guys did a great job.
Thank you very much. I did nothing for the graphics. I can't take any of the credit. The only credit that I can take for the graphics is that we wouldn't be able to do this cinematic render engine unless without a deterministic battler, and that was something that we chose right at the start. That we wanted it to be deterministic so that we could run battle after battle, so that we didn't need to have servers. So, like, there's a lot of things that we get as a bonus out of there. However, I will say that we did not expect that it would take as long as it did to code out the simulation part of it, and specifically the visualizer of the simulation. It's the sort of thing. Put it this way: we went to hire a guy who had been working at Blizzard on World of Warcraft as one of their gameplay network engineers, which is exactly the sort of people that we want. And we gave him a test where he had to make a small portion of what it is that we do, like a tiny little paradigm of it. He absolutely failed, like just absolutely failed. And if you can't do that, then you can't program on our team. So our team, for the dev side, like we had to be really selective early on. And let me tell you, it's not particularly easy to get devs to come across to a crypto project, let alone one that hasn't even launched. But the ones that we did get, they're just absolute gems, and we're so proud of them. But it did take a little bit longer than what we thought. Plus, we added in a whole bunch of extra things that we thought will make the game better. And in the end, as much as delays are not something that we want to do, at every step of the way, we have always said that we want quality and speed, but we're going to take quality over speed. And you saw that. I was begging them to just let it go without the extra things that we needed into that battle so that we could get it out at one. And they're like, nope, we can do it. And then all it took is one little tiny change that stuffed us up, and that put us back, like 28 minutes or whatever it was. So I just want everyone to fully understand that when it comes to us, we do feel like we're working quite fast especially recently, because we've expanded a lot. But we are always going to go for quality, and we just hate things not being good, right? Like we don't just ship it out there and say, yeah, we're just any old game. Now, to be fair, there's a million games out there that are amazing, and while we're still in the state that we're in, I'm not going to say that we're better than everything else out there, but we're competitive as shit. Everyone on the project is competitive. We had someone fighting over who was the fastest to upload something today and putting screenshots saying that they were a minute earlier than someone else. Our team is so competitive, and we will just keep on working until we get it right. So
yeah.
Is it possible that there can be delays? Yes, you've already seen it. Do we want there to be delays? No, but as you can see, it looks pretty cool, right? Like, I mean, I dare anyone to watch this and then to go play a game of Teamfight Tactics or something like that, and you'll see that, like, they've got 10 years worth of IP behind them with all of their assets done. Like, none of these characters existed back in November last year, right? In 1 year, we're already at the point where we have nearly 200 unique things that are at some point in development. Almost all of them are past the basic stages, except for one line. One line needs to be ideated, but you'll hear more about that later.
Is there actually a Guy Fawkes mask in the game?
Is there actually a what in the game?
A Guy Fawkes mask?
No. That was for the promo. That's a promo NFT.
Okay, so the mask is not actually in the game.
No, the mask was for the creator.
And
every time we do a promo one, we try to add something to it. So like if you go back and have a look, even something like they didn't want to do a promo with us, but Uniswap, we did Ramfy, and Ramfy had a unicorn horn sticking on his head with unicorn blood dripping out of it. Originally that was supposed to be paint, and then internally the canon is now that he just ripped that horn straight off him.
And Aaron, what can you tell us about the monster synergy?
The Alluviary will tell you what the synergies of the Alluvials are. If you look at the cards that we've done, they show what they are. So the ones that we've outputted to you guys, they show it. I don't know if anyone noticed in the chat though. We decided that it would be better for like a cinematic perspective to not have the user interface on there. But our UI developer, our lead, he is unbelievably good. And Kieran was not lying when he said he went to jail over this game. He's literally in jail right now. So we get him back in a week or so. But he has been working on the project for a week now.
He's not in jail anymore. He's in play now. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! That makes me so much better. But
I just got him at the phone, and like right before he got into the plane with the police, and so the hell is for him. So
Why did they take him in jail?
Because he overstayed for 10 days in Thailand, and because they are cracking down in Thailand right now. They want to
just 10 days.
A lot of people that live long term here. They want to kick everyone's out right now. And so if you do something even very small that is wrong, or by the law, they will put you in jail. And if you don't pay under the table very fast, you can stay months before they send you back to your home country. So yeah, he got lucky that in the end he stayed only 1 week in total in jail, but that was like not even a jail. That was like some kind of a very dirty place with poop on walls and all that, and yeah, like just never. If you go to Thailand, just never do anything wrong, and if you get caught, just try to pay as fast as possible. You don't want to wait to be in the system, because when you're in the system, it's too late. So, but yeah, we got lucky. He's now in the plane and he can relax, and he will be back on Illuvium, because we really need him to lead the UI and all that. So he's so good at it. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep.
Why is there so many people in here?
This is the fucking best game that you're ever gonna play in your fucking life. That's why.
Hey,
Yeah.
Aaron.
Word.
Good afternoon.
Do you know?
Can I do a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any expectation for release more content in the end of the game? More PvE, like you guys present the game as a MMORPG, so.
Well, more content. There's going to be set 2 and 3 and 4, so that would be extra content. There's 8 regions, but is that really the case, or is there?
You have a roadmap? It's a big world. You have a roadmap?
I will say that this, like, we haven't released the actual map, but the part of the world that the player travels in on this planet is not the whole planet. Most of the planet is like absolutely just gone.
Yeah,
so,
but
Aaron with the bombs.
Can I when I'm talking about content is PvE content, like not just farming stuff, but doing stuff with other players, like
yeah. So that would be in expansions, right? So
yeah,
there's plenty of opportunity for extra expansions in the game. We plan on making not just this game, not the next game, not the game after that, but we want a whole universe that covers like a massive range of genres. And obviously that'll take time, but we want to make sure that over time you guys keep on getting cool shit that you get to do and upgrade. You know, there's the Illuvium 0 will get expanded into something bigger, and then there'll be other games that come out that will expand into their own things, and eventually you'll get a whole ecosystem. I don't know, maybe one day people will be able to get off this crazy planet, and if they could, well then I guess you'd have to have a spaceship to be able to do that. And I don't know if you're aware, but spaceships take a lot of area to build, almost like, you know, you've got to have like a city or maybe even like a mega city to be able to do that. So there's lots of things that we can add to this game. They all have to be approved by you guys though. So if you like it, we'll build it.
To end my time, for the game, I think will be revolutionary at crypto space, because you didn't see anything like this in the other games. Is not just the MMORPG, is the farming, is the survival and the battles. I think you guys really do a good job. Congratulations for you all.
Thank you. Is there anyone who likes our axolotls better than Axie's axolotls?
Definitely. Yeah, yours looks cooler.
Of course, dude. That first 30 seconds where you see Atlas, holy shit, he's adorable in the water, and it looks great.
Yeah, he's a little cutie. I don't know if the 4K version is up yet, but 4K will be available pretty soon, I would imagine. Yeah.
It was up after like 5 minutes after this already.
I wanted to ask you, Aaron, if there is a space for that.
A space for what?
For my question.
Oh yeah, what's your question?
I have something on my mind for quite a long time, and I would like you to give me your opinion on the thing. I'm gonna definitely try at least to buy the land in Illuvium 0. And since it's like connected with the main game, I wanted to know, or I was like not concerned, but curious. I was curious if I will be able to visit the land that I will buy in Illuvium 0 in the main game, just to look around. I understand it will probably not belong to me in the main game, but just to visit it, it's an amazing idea.
Why wouldn't it belong to you in the main game? It's your land. So to start off with, just to be very clear, that mini game, even though it has expanded in scope a decent amount, it's still going to be a mini game in our eyes, and it's not got like a huge amount of resources associated with it until we start to expand it into what I think it should be eventually. But once it gets to that point, remember that there's no way for you to visit there from the main game because you're literally stuck, right? You're stuck inside of these barriers that these obelisks have, right? So you cannot get there. The drones that are out there that you play as, they were ejected as the ship was entering the atmosphere, right? Well before crashing onto Sanctum Mesa. So you can't play until there's a story-driven reason why you could play out there, but there is absolutely no reason in the world why we won't eventually allow this to be done, right? It's not particularly hard for us to do these things. They do take time, so I'm not saying expect it next year, but if you buy a piece of land, then expect that land is not just going to provide you with revenue, but it's going to provide you with a whole bunch of gameplay possibilities down the road.
You could play the land and the game at the same time, right? On your phone and then one on the computer.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, quick question on that land.
They couldn't, but what I meant by that was like, you've only got one set of eyeballs, but yeah.
I don't know about that.
I got a quick question, Aaron, on that land, specifically regarding land sale.
Yeah.
So I know that it's being talked about like, hey, you can use SILV for land sale, all this jazz, right? Which is great. I don't think that's wrong. I think what we'll run into is like 80 to 90% of all land will be, or at least the cost of land will be bought with SILV at this point because people are buying it on the open market also.
Yeah.
And we guess you won't see a lot of people buying it with ETH to do RevDiz.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be smart to do it where if you want to buy land with SILV, you have to do half ETH, half SILV?
No.
I think that it does have merit in that, like, I mean, maybe not the half and half, just because that's actually quite difficult to and a bit more gas costly to do like hybrid payments. But in general, I get the idea that people want to see RevDiz and that's all that they want. However, you got to look at it from the other side. Every bit of SILV that gets used in that sale is ILV that is not minted, and it's lowering the maximum theoretical supply. Now, maybe at the low level, there's a lot of people out there that they don't quite understand that because they're not like heavily into crypto, but the smart people, and usually the people with like a buttload of money to be able to invest in projects, they are very, very aware that having a supply of 10 million is absolutely insanely small, and having a supply of say 9 million is like, that's 10% better, right? So yes, it may not show up in RevDiz, and therefore when we do those first revenue distributions, it might not be as big as what it could have been if everyone had to spend ETH. But remember, we're effectively not giving out extra tokens to people that that they could sell on the market. We're dropping the supply. And remember, a lot of people are they see SILV as a different thing. you know?
Hello.
And
bye.
They
Shit.
they see SILV as something that is maybe not as like it's cheaper, right? So they're going to spend more on it. So
Bro, in the beginning, you want them to use as much SILV as possible, guys. That's the whole goal.
Long term, I think that is better. It comes down to the like from a mathematical point of view, absolutely that is the best way. From a psychological point of view, it'll come down to whether or not people look at it and
Short-term thinkers, dude.
understand. If they understand what's going on with the market cap and the token supply, then they will 100%.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you believe in this game and you think the game is going to be great in the future, right? That means it's going to bring in a lot of revenue anyway. So your main goal is to just get rid of as much supply as you can.
If remember, there's going to be an absolute buttload of trading going on. We take a fee with all of those trades, and those trades have to be done in ETH. So there's never a situation where like everybody is always going to be using SRV, and once that SRV is used, it is literally put into the pool and burned. So it's never coming back. So yes, it is not. It would be cool to say like there was like 100 million or 200 million in the land sale, and all of that was ETH, so therefore it gets revdis, etc., etc. But I think that what people have to look at is long term.
Long term, for sure.
Yeah, not only is there revenue distribution, but if a lot of people bought it with SILV, then that means not only did people gain some revenue distribution, they gained that piece of land just by the yield farming anyway. So the total amount of value generated by the project is going to be higher than if we did it the other way.
Okay, so the maximum that can be burned is 3 million, right? Forever? Like it's just 3 million is the max no matter what.
Well, it's already
Yeah.
lower than that.
Yeah. So yeah. It's I don't know what it's sitting at the moment, but yeah, the theoretical lower supply would be 7 million. Obviously, the fact that people have claimed some ILV means that it's not going to reach as low as 7 million. I think
Unless
it'll
you
end
add
up.
other things in the future where they could still choose to get SILV instead of ILV, right? To fill that $3 million, that 3 million anyway. You get what I mean, right?
Yeah, but for us to do that, if we were to give people the option of getting SILV,
Man, why are you just talking?
I got him.
What?
You're good. You guys are good.
Well done.
I muted him.
You can't get SILV from revenue distributions. It doesn't work. So we don't give that as an option, which means that technically there's not really going to be any other way for us to reduce the supply further. Originally, Kieran's idea was that half of the ETH that goes into the vault would be, we would use it to buy ILV, and then we would burn half of it, which would mean that over time the supply would get lower and lower, and the token price would go to like ridiculous heights, but the revenue distribution in terms of tokens would be lower, and it just became a little bit more complicated to do. But I don't think technically there's a problem with us doing that if that's what people wanted. They want less revenue distribution, but they want tokens to be burned so that like at some point in the distant future the supply of ILV is like 1.
What I'm trying to say is, I'm sure there's ways that we can find out where if we're thinking, okay, the maximum we want for ILV to be burned is 3 million quantity. Whatever is burned off this beginning is burned, but the rest, let's say there's 1.5 million remaining out of the 3 million that could be burned. So when the people are playing the game and they're earning, let's say they're earning ETH or ILV from the game, right? They could choose to get it as SILV instead of ETH, or you know what I mean. So when if they ever choose to get the reward in SILV, it would take away from that 1.5 million that's
It's
remaining.
possible. I mean, there's a lot of things that are possible.
Yeah,
The trickiest thing is that we have to find things that are like gas efficient and make sense overall for the protocol, are easy for people to understand. Most of the people who looked at our tokenomics were able to say, yep, I sort of get that. The yield farming is like the equivalent of a term deposit, and you get compounding interest. And the revenue distributions is like I own shares in a company, except instead of the company deciding how much to give back because they're dickheads and they want to keep some for themselves, we just automatically by default have to give 100% of that revenue back to everyone. In those situations, I think that people can really understand it. The same way saying that the overworld is like a packet of cards, or whatever. So I do want to try and keep things easy to understand, because I think that's been one of the benefits of the project. But that doesn't mean that we can't change things around, do extra stuff, etc., etc. We can do a whole bunch of stuff, and we will.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When is the game releasing?
Beginning of next
So
year.
the first private beta 1, we're hoping to get out before the end of the year. My daughter wants to be a part of that, and her birthday is at the end of the year. So if I don't, she's probably going to kill me in my sleep. So we are doing everything we can to get that out. We feel confident that will be done. Then we'll have another private beta, hopefully around January, and then if everything goes well, we'll be able to get it out before the end of Q1 next year. It'll still be a public beta. What that means is everything that you buy in the game you get to keep at that point. Everything is for keeps, etc., etc. But don't buy something saying, I like this character because it's the best in the game, and it'll never change. Because let me tell you, a lot of things are going to change past the public beta. We have a roadmap of changes that we are planning to do during that phase, because we have to do a faster version of it in the private betas and alpha and stuff like that. So there will be lots of changes. I mean, I would love to be able to get the Illuvials in the world so that the scan mechanics can be a lot more dynamic and it'll feel super cool to be in the world. But I just can't promise that that's going to be out at any particular time. But it is definitely part of our long-term solution. We don't want to be in public beta for ages. Like we love the guys immutable. The immutable guys have Gods Unchained, but like that game was in beta for a long time, and we don't want to be in beta for that long, right? But we do understand that there's still a lot of work to be done to get to the point where we're super happy with it. And will there be times where you guys are a tiny bit guinea pigs and you have stuff, and then all of a sudden we change mechanics slightly and that affects what you do in the game a little bit? Yeah, probably. Be ready for that. That's part of what it means to be beta. But in the end, we're not stopping until we get an absolutely ridiculously awesome game done. And so we've got to do it, right? We can't be scared to change things just because people, if Atlas needs to be changed to be purple instead of blue, well then he's gonna be fucking changed to purple. Yeah.
Aaron, regarding those betas, those early betas, I should say, excuse me. Will they be NDA? Like, will they be not disclosed, or will they be something people share like online on YouTube and people can watch like us?
I would very much like for them to be open, but I'm not sure. I don't make the end decision on that. I will be part of that decision, but at the very least, what I will say is that we have an absolutely stacked lineup of ideas for content creation. So if you're a YouTuber or something like that, this is definitely the game for you. Like, absolutely, we are doing everything in our power to make this game be streamable. We're gonna, it's gonna be very rewarding for people to stream it. It's gonna be, it's good. Yeah. So I would very much love for people to be able to do it, and also I'd love for people to be able to do it and not have some sort of bullshit restriction where they have to say nice things about the game. If you're playing it in some sort of a battle and some glitch happens, I want you to be like, these bullshit. Aaron,
That fucking co-founder.
And then lastly, if any, like, okay, because beta, obviously you find stuff that's wrong or kinks or whatever, right? If someone, let's say, finds like any sort of exploit or thing in the game that helps them over other people, how would that be tackled? Like, what, like, if someone just doesn't reveal it or decides to use it, like, do you know what I'm talking about? That scenario?
Yeah. So we don't control your assets.
Right.
So if there is something like that, then that is very, very bad, right? But I'm confident in our back-end engineers that that's not going to be something that can happen, right? We have a lot of protection in place that's not like, whoops, we forgot to put a semicolon at the end of the line, so now someone can mint a bunch of these things. I'm actually, out of all the things in the game that could go wrong, I'm much more worried about things like people, not liking my game design or wanting more or whatever. And I'm doing everything in my power to fix them, but they're very real things that people maybe don't like, right? I mean, there's going to be someone out there who goes, you know what, this game isn't for me, I don't like it. And they'll tell me, and I'll feel sad about it, and I'll try and work out what the hell I could have done to keep that person. But the security of like an exploit where you can like just generate 1 million NFTs instantly, I'm actually not worried about that.
And then I guess lastly, someone actually in the chat asked me to ask you a question because they have a lot of background noise.
Yeah.
They were wondering, if you guys have concrete marketing. Like, I guess, let me read their message word for word.
We're much more fault, not concrete.
Okay, because he was asking about, can you ask how the marketing strategy is going from now on? That's his question.
So we have Scott McCarthy previously of Twitch, and then previously before that Sony. He will be running it. These guys are really good. Like tonight, they had everything ready. When it comes to the delay, that had absolutely nothing to do with marketing, and in fact, they were so quick at getting everything up and running once we gave it to them. So they are on point. They will be doing a lot of good things. I can't tell you everything that we're going to be doing in marketing. I will say that I think I came up with a pretty good idea for marketing that I think it could be pretty good, right? Like everyone seems to be pumped internally about it. And so if that comes to fruition, I think that we'll be doing well. Johnny, who's leading our technology, as well as sort of like he started off Illuvium 0 for us. He came up with an idea that the tier 5 lands would have Stadia, and so like we get good ideas from everywhere. But these marketing guys, they're the best at what they do, and they will. Yeah, it'll be solid, right? Our marketing will be on point.
Aaron, is this game going to be on PlayStation?
I would love for this game to be on PlayStation, but I don't think that's something that Scott specifically can help us with. It'll come down to we have crypto assets. Is that something that PlayStation allow us to do? But I mean, we're running an Unreal Engine. It's very straightforward for us to get it running on PlayStation and Xbox. So if possible, we will. But it's such a volatile space that I
the
can't.
hard part is integrating the wallet, and the transactions.
Aaron, another question. Sorry, can I please?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
The idea of play to earn is the idea of the Illuvium on the game, right?
Yes.
How are you gonna build on that on this? My question is, in other MMORPGs, you have like levels and armor and all the stuff, but you have a hand game. Is the idea for the players rushing hours? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we have armor, we have weapons, we have levels, we have all of that stuff that an MMORPG has. We just don't have the O part, the MMO part of it, right? So you level up your character and you build weapons, you build armaments, you build movement tools, all that sort of stuff. All of these things can be sold. You can get skins and you can sell them. So you've got play to earn there. We are going to have, if I do a good job, we're going to have the most active, competitive crypto game out there, right? We want hundreds of thousands of people playing the game. And in fact, I've already had over a dozen professional players from Underlords and TFT interested because they've somehow caught wind that hopefully by the end of next year, we do a world championships where we tour around all of the 7 lands that the tier 5 people own. And then we go to a final world championships where there may or may not be a prize that could be worth 50 million US dollars.
Okay, dude.
Aaron, I got this. Dan Rad in chat also wants me to ask a question for him. So Dan Rad messaged me saying, "Can you ask Illuvium how they will respond to FUD that the SEC will probably make with calling all the tokens under securities?" I don't know. That was his question. Tokens. That's what he probably meant.
Yeah. So we've been very clear up front. Like we're not specifically Australian because our DAO has people from all over the world, and in fact, even like the controlling part is not majority in Australia, right? So we're very much international, but when it comes to rulings about what things need to be done, we're very much in favor of following whatever regulations there are. We're not trying to be out here doing some like shady stuff on the side to try and skate around things. We are very much upfront that we want to make sure that this space is regulated because we think in the long term it actually benefits us. Because in a space where there's a whole bunch of like shady stuff going on, you know, that sort of dilutes the market and makes it feel a little bit more risky for people to go in, knowing that there's all these, you know, crazy things happening. Whereas we see ourselves as one of the leaders in the space. You know, whether or not we end up being there, I can't tell you, but I'm very confident that we will be. So we want to do everything in our power to have it the right way. So if they tell us that there's a particular thing that we need to do, we're confident enough in our ability just purely as a game to get people playing, right? Like, I mean,
But what if they ask that the gamers have to provide the information, the names, their addresses, like phone numbers, like if that happens, what do? We have to do it.
I don't think that there's going to be a need for things like phone numbers and stuff like that. Remember, we don't plan on on-ramping people with their like fiat or anything like that. And from what I've heard, again, this is just from what I've heard from people that are like crypto security professionals, is that at the moment, no one who's doing anything shady is targeting our protocol. In fact, we had a sweep done of ours, and we were literally 100% clean to the point where they originally were offering us services to deal with problems and stuff like that, and they said we can't offer you a service because literally you are fully clean. There's like nothing that we wouldn't be providing you any value. But I have heard that they're mainly going to be looking at the the junctions where people turn fiat currency into crypto, and we don't do that. That will be done like with our layer 2 partner. That would be Immutable X, and they're planning on stuff like that. So if you had to on-ramp fiat via directly onto layer 2 with, for example, Immutable X, if there's rules that say some form of KYC to be able to do that, similar to how it is with Binance or anything else, they will deal with that. We won't, unless we have to do something with it. But my understanding is that that's a very unlikely possibility.
And then I don't know why, but apparently I've turned into the person where everyone that doesn't have a mic or whatever wants me to ask a question for them. So
you're a bit.
I have
Yeah,
another
Josh.
question from Raz K.
Questions.
Yeah, I know, right? Raz K says, can the game be grinded 24/7, or is the grind factor of the game restricted by any resources as something like energy, which reloads on a daily basis? Thanks.
You could play 24 hours a day. I strongly recommend not doing that. Keep your health where it should be, healthy. So anyone playing 24 hours a day and like peeing into jars and stuff like that, please fucking stop. Please go out, see the sunshine or whatever. But yeah, you could play as much as you want. There's no restriction.
Oh, Jesus.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Guys, please read the white paper before asking those questions. Like it's censored, right?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just passing on the info that people are DMing me to ask. So
Oh, yeah.
they're
I
not
have a
my
question.
personal questions.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard from someone in the beta, you're not gonna get to keep the things, only the skins. Like, you're not gonna keep your Alluvial.
Yeah,
Only the
that
skins.
that you heard it from, and that's true. Yeah, in the private beta, that is. In the private beta, we're going to give you like a lot of, I guess, fake money. You know what I mean? So you get to go and play around with it, and we get to watch your habits. What do you spend your money on? Do you buy this? Do you buy that? That'll help us to understand what's working, what's not, what things people like. Maybe the cult of Squiz isn't all it's cracked up to be, and no one likes it. We have to change him from a squid into a sponge or something. I don't know.
So basically, you're gonna look for bugs and things like that.
Yeah, and then we will just absolutely gut you of everything that you have. All of the stuff that you've gotten up until that point, you'll have worked hard for a couple of months, grinding your
Except
way
for
through.
the skins, yeah?
Yeah, you've got your new Ramfire, you're super happy, and then nope. No, not skins. The skins that you get will come from Illuvium 0. Separate thing.
Okay, but
And
how can you be a part of?
You do get to keep them, or specifically, you get to keep the blueprints that allow you to make the skins. So you get to become a supplier of skins to the market.
Oh, that's good.
What do you think is the most valuable of the land? Like, what skill do you think is the most valuable? You would say.
In like mining, harvesting, fighting, or fusing.
Yeah, like as far as the land goes, yeah, like fusing, right.
Or are you talking about the land and like which is the most powerful fuel?
You know how each land has it's specific to what it does, right? There's ones for fuel, there's ones for scanning, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I honestly don't know which is the most powerful. We'll try and balance it so that it's fun and easy.
Oh, yeah. How can you be a part of a private beta?
We've already been over this. You need to ask me in main chat that you want me to impregnate you, especially if you're a guy. That seems to work pretty well.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, I offered a reach around, but I didn't hear anything around that.
It's nearly 4 a.m. here, and I'm getting a little bit woozy.
Go, Aaron. Go.
No. I'm just saying that, like, if I answer something ridiculous, don't hold me to it. But there's what we want for the first private beta is probably people that like definitely not minimum spec PCs, because we may not have done all of the optimization to work on minimum spec PCs. So there probably need to be some level of graphics card. Do not go out and buy a graphics card because you heard me just say, if I buy a graphics card, Aaron's going to let me into the beta. That is not what I said. Okay. However, we'll probably be looking for people that have slightly higher spec, and then people who have experience as bug catchers, professional players of other TFT games, people that just tell me that I'm the most handsome of my brothers. These are the sort of things we look for.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt. I sent the text in general. It sounds weird right now. Uh, and I have some experience in beta and alpha plays on other games. So I would love to have that chance. That's it. That's all for me. Sorry, that wasn't really interesting. Love your jokes. I think you should sleep a bit.
I love the buttering up. No, I'm going to stick around for a little bit longer. I have a reason why I'm staying up, and it's not something that I can tell you because otherwise you'll spoil it for me. So we'll leave it as is. But yeah, I'm happy to keep answering questions. I am going to get a little bit of water though because my mouth is starting to go dry.
Are you staying up so that your kids can see the trailer with you live?
No, actually, my kids are with my parents at the moment. They're staying the night. They knew that this was going to be a pretty big day, so they took them off my hands, which I very, very much appreciate. And I'm glad that they did, because at around about, let's say, 12:30 my time, when it became clear that the export that we were doing was not going to work and we were going to have to redo it, they would have learned a lot of new colorful language had they been here or in my next door neighbor's place, or maybe one or two suburbs down, because I was screaming very loudly and the words that were coming out of my mouth were not nice.
That's how a good education is done.
I'm telling you, I was not happy that we did not go out at one. I purposefully stayed back in Sydney instead of going with the other guys out, and I was so certain that we were going to get there with about 4 hours to go, and it just kept on going and going and going. So again, super apologetic about that. I definitely did not want that to happen, but in the end we got there, and hopefully some of you guys found it to be a pretty cool trailer.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it was amazing. One troll market cap win. Okay.
also, sorry, go on.
You'll see it go. It'll at the moment it's still sticking around about where it was, which is fine. But also, I think ETH has dropped a little bit as well. But we honestly don't particularly care too much in the day to day of what happens with the token, because we're very much a long term outlook.
Yeah, 100%.
We're the sort of me personally, I'd rather be considered such a safe bet that we go up steady, rather than having like crazy ups and downs, stuff like that. You know, we want people to understand that we're in it for the long haul.
Gotcha.